Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtiprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text number 53 onwards. So Lord Shiva is further describing the beauty of the Lord. Etad rupam anudheyam atma shuddhim abhipsitam yad bhakti yogo abhayadaha so dharmam anutishtatam. My dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must always engage in meditation upon your lotus feet as described above. Those who are serious about executing their occupational duties and want freedom from fear must take to this process of Bhakti Yoga. It is said that the transcendental name, form, pastimes, and entourage of the Lord cannot be appreciated by the blunt material senses. Therefore, one has to engage himself in devotional service so that the senses may be purified and one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, however, it is indicated that those who are constantly engaged in meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord are certainly purified of the material contamination of the senses and are thus able to see the Supreme Lord face to face. The word meditation is very popular in this age amongst the common people, but they do not know the actual meaning of meditation. However, from Vedic literature, yogis are always absorbed dhyana avastita tadgatena manasa pashanti yama yogina. This is a real business of yogis to think of the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore advises that one who's in this type of meditation or in the mystic yoga system, which will help him not only to see the Lord within constantly, but to see him face to face and become his associate in Vaikuntha Loka or Golok Vrindavan. So, previous verses, beauty of the Lord was described, especially it was said that one has to start from the lotus feet of the Lord. So when we meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord, then and get those who are serious by executing their occupational duties must take to this process of Bhakti Yoga. So Prabhupada said the yogis also, they just meditate on the Lord. Those who are really serious, they always meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. The word Swadharmam indicates that the system of Varnashram, which indicates the occupation duties of the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and which is the perfect institution for humanity, must be supported by yoga. If one at all think that simply by executing the occupation duties of a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, or the duty of a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanprastha, Sannyasi, one becomes fearless or securely attains liberation. But factually, unless all these occupational duties are accompanied by Bhakti Yoga, one cannot become fearless. In Bhagavad Gita, there are descriptions of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, etc. But unless one comes to the point of Bhakti Yoga, these are the yogas cannot help one attain the highest perfection of life. So basically, Bhakti Yoga is to please the Supreme Lord, to please Krishna, any activity done to please him. In other words, Bhakti Yoga is the only means for liberation. We find this conclusion also in Chaitanya Charitamrita in a discussion between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Rai regarding a human being's liberation from this material world. In that discussion, Ramanand Roy referred to the execution of Varnashram Dharma, and Lord Chaitanya indicated that the Varnashram Dharma was simply external. Lord Chaitanya wanted to impress upon Ramananda Rai that simply by executing the duties of Varnashram Dharma, one is not guaranteed liberation. Finally, Ramananda Rai referred to the process of Bhakti Yoga, sthane sthita shrutigatan tanuvana manohi. Regardless of one's condition of life, if he practices Bhakti Yoga, which begins with hearing Shrutigatam, the transcendental message of the Lord, through the mouths of devotees, he gradually conquers the unconquerable Lord. So Bhakti Yoga is glorified everywhere. Shivji is glorifying here, Lord Kapil Dev glorified earlier, Dhruv Maharaj glorified. So Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Amla Purana, the topmost Puran, only glorifies and discusses Bhakti Yoga. God is known as unconquerable, but one who submissively hears the words of his self-realized soul conquers the unconquerable. Conclusion is that if one is serious about liberation, he not only should execute the occupational duties of Varnashram Dharma, but should also engage in Bhakti Yoga by beginning hearing from his realized soul. This process will help the devotee conquer the unconquerable Supreme Personality of Godhead and become his associate after giving up the material body. So all we have to do is engage seriously about the Bhakti Yoga. Bhavan Bhaktimatam Labhyo Durlabha Sarvadehinam Swarajyasyapi Abhimat Ekantenatma Vidgatihi. My dear Lord, the King in charge of the heavenly kingdom is also desirous of obtaining the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. Similarly, you're the ultimate destination of those who identified themselves with you, Aham Brahmasmi. However, it is very difficult for them to attain you, whereas a devotee can very easily attain your Lordship. So here Lord Shiva himself is saying it's very difficult to attain you, those who want to merge in you or those who identify with Brahma Jyoti. But the followers of Shiva, they always want to merge in Brahma Jyoti and meditate upon Brahma Jyoti, and the whole philosophy is Soham Oham Brahmasmi. And these followers always say Shivji is supreme and Shivalingam is the supreme because, and it represents the Nirakar, Nirvishesh form of the Lord because it has no form. Shivling actually has no form. It's just a cylindrical thing. There is no form. So that's why they say Shivling is the highest. But here Shivji is himself speaking about that if you identify with Brahma Jyoti, then it's very difficult for them to attain you. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. This indicates that it's very difficult for one to attain the ultimate goal of life and reach the supreme destination, Vaikuntha Loka or Golok Vrindavan, simply by studying Vedanta philosophy or Vedic literature. However, this highest perfectional stage can be attained by the devotees very easily. That is the meaning of Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. The same point is confirmed by Lord Shiva in this verse. The Lord is very difficult for the Karma Yogis, Jnana Yogis, and Dhyana Yogis to attain. Those who are Bhakti Yogis, however, have no difficulty at all. In the word Swarajyasya, Swar refers to Swargaloka, the heavenly planet, and Swarajya refers to the ruler of the heavenly planet, Indra. Generally, karmis desire elevation to heavenly planets, but King Indra desires to become perfect in Bhakti Yoga. Those who identify themselves as Aham Brahmasmi I am the Supreme Brahman. I am one with the Absolute Truth. Also, ultimately, desire to attain perfect liberation in Vaikuntha planets, Golok Vrindavan. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in the full consciousness of the Supreme Lord, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So here Lord Shiva is saying even Indra wants to do devotion service. So those who want to go to heavenly planets, here the Lord of the heavenly planets, he wants to do devotion service. So why the karmis think they can attain something more than what Indra has by going to heavenly planets? It's just wastage of time. And those who say they want to do Brahmjyoti, they want to reach Brahmjyoti, even Lord Shiva, they are his followers. He's saying, do Bhakti Yoga. And he himself is doing Bhakti Yoga. But somehow people just get misled by so many different so-called gurus, and they just waste their time. Thus, if one desires to enter into the spiritual world, he must try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by practicing Bhakti Yoga. Simply by practicing Bhakti Yoga, one can understand the Supreme Lord in truth, but without such understanding, one cannot enter the spiritual kingdom. One may be elevated to the heavenly planets or may realize himself as Brahman, but that is not the end of realization. One must realize the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Bhakti Yoga. Then real perfection of life is attained. So Prabhupada quotes this verse from Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by bhakti I am to be known. So very important. Tam duraradhyam aradhya satamapi durapaya ekanta bhaktya kovanchet padmulam vina vahi. My dear Lord, pure devotional service is even difficult for liberated persons to discharge, but devotional service alone can satisfy you. Who will take to other processes of self-realization if he is actually serious about the perfection of life? The word satam refers to transcendentalists. There are three kinds of transcendentalists, the jnanis, the yogis, and the bhakta. Out of these three, the bhakta is selected as a most suitable candidate to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is emphasized herein that only one who is outside devotion service would not engage in searching for the lotus feet of the Lord. Foolish people sometimes maintain that God may be attained in any way, either by karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, etc. But here it is clearly stated that it is impossible to obtain the mercy of the Lord by any means but bhakti yoga. The word duraradhya is especially significant. It is very difficult to attain the lotus feet of the Lord by any method other than bhakti yoga. Yatra nirvishtam maranam kritanto nabhimanyate vishvam vigvansayan virya shaurya visfurjit bhava. Simply by expansion of his eyebrows, invincible time personified can immediately vanquish the entire universe. However, formidable time does not approach the devotee who has taken shelter at your lotus feet. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord in the shape and form of death destroys all a person's possessions. Mrityu sarvharaschaham. I am all-devouring death. The Lord in the shape of death takes away everything that is created by the conditioned soul. Everything in this material world is subject to perish in due course of time. However, all the strength of time cannot hamper the activities of a devotee, for a devotee takes complete shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord. For this reason only is a devotee free from formidable time. All the activities of the karmis and jnanis which have no touch of devotion service are spoiled in due course of time. The material success of karmis is destined to be destroyed. Similarly, the impersonal realization attained by jnanis is also destroyed in the course of time. So now Lord Shiva is saying, "Oh Lord, in your form as death, you destroy everything." And how does he destroy? Simply by expansion of his eyebrows. How difficult it is for us to expand our eyebrows, just to look. If we just open our eyes properly, the eyebrows get expanded. How difficult it is. So for the Lord, it's not difficult at all to vanquish the entire universe. And he says, even you don't do it yourself. Invincible time purified can immediately vanquish the entire universe. What's so difficult in this? Anything and everything in the whole universe will be destroyed in due course of time, except the devotees who have taken shelter at your lotus feet. So it's not that the devotees' bodies will not be destroyed, they will be destroyed. But if somebody becomes as pure as Lord Dhruv Maharaj, then he goes back in the spiritual world in the same body. But for the other devotees, the bodies will be destroyed, right? But their consciousness will not be destroyed. And this will this purified consciousness is what takes them back to the spiritual world. Other than that, everything will be destroyed. To say nothing of the karmis, the jnanis undergo severe austerities to attain the impersonal Brahm Jyoti. But because they do not find the lotus feet of the Lord, they fall down again into this material existence. They do not find the lotus feet in Brahm Jyoti means they don't take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. So there's no shelter, nothing to hold on to. They fall down again. Unless one is fully situated in unalloyed devotion service, there is no guarantee of liberation. Even if one is elevated to the heavenly planets or to the impersonal Brahman effulgence, a devotee's achievement, however, is never lost by the influence of time. Even if a devotee cannot completely execute devotion service in his next life, he begins from the point where he left off. Such an opportunity is not given to karmis, jnanis, whose achievements are destroyed. The bhakta's achievement is never destroyed, for it goes on perpetually, be it complete or incomplete. This is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. Shuchitnam shimatam gehe yoga bhrashto abhijayate. If one is unable to complete the process of bhakti yoga, he is given his chance in his next life to take birth in a pure family of devotees or in a rich family. In such families, a person can have a good opportunity to further progress in devotion service. So this is the mercy of the Lord, because yoga or bhakti yoga is never destroyed. So he starts where he left off in this life. When Yamraj, the superintendent of death, was instructing his assistants, he told them not to approach the devotees. So this story will come in the story of Ajamil. That would be in 6th canto, beginning of 6th canto. The devotees should be offered respects, he said, but do not go near them. Thus, the devotees of the Lord are not under the jurisdiction of Yamraj. Yamraj is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he controls the death of every living entity. Yet he has nothing to do with the devotees. Simply by blinking of his eyes, time personified can destroy the entire cosmic manifestation. But he has nothing to do with the devotee. In other words, devotional service which is rendered by the devotee in this lifetime can never be destroyed by time. Such spiritual assets remain unchanged, being beyond the influence of time. Because the time is only has its influence in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no influence of time. So there is no influence of time on devotional service either. So devotional service is something we do now, we just continue next life from wherever we left off. Now it depends upon how many other desires we have. So the Lord sees when to fulfill our material desires and when to get us into association of devotees so we can start our devotion service. And side by side, we try to fulfill our material desires. And sometimes he lets us fulfill some desires, sometimes he frustrates us. So it's all up to Krishna. So different devotees, he deals with them differently because everybody has a different consciousness, different sanskaras. Everything is different. So Lord deals with every devotee differently, individually. And then comes a beautiful verse. Kshanardhe napi tulle na swargam na punarbhamam bhagvat sangi sangasya martyanam kimuta shisha. If one by chance associates with the devotee, even for a fraction of a moment, kshana ardhena, half a moment, he no longer is subject to attraction by the results of karma or jnana. What interest then can we have in the benediction of the demigods, which are subject to the laws of birth and death? Out of three kinds of men, the karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas, the bhakta is described herein as the most exalted. Srila Prabodhanand Saraswati has sung, Kavalyam Narakayate Tridashpur Akash Pushpayate. The word Kevalya means to merge into the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the word Tridashpur refers to the heavenly planets where the demigods live. Thus, for a devotee, Kevalya Sukha merging into the existence of the Lord is hellish because the bhakta considers it suicidal to lose his individuality and merge into the effulgence of Brahman. A bhakta or a devotee always wants to retain his individuality in order to render service to the Lord. Indeed, he considers promotion to the upper planetary systems to be no better than will-o'-the-wisp, because all these heavenly planets, they're temporary. Temporary material happiness holds no value for a devotee. The devotee is in such an exalted position that he is not at all interested in the actions of karma or jnana. The resultant actions of karma and jnana are so insignificant to a devotee situated on the transcendental platform that he is not in the least interested in them. Bhakti Yoga is sufficient to give the bhakta all happiness. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yayatma Suprasidati. One can be fully satisfied simply by devotion service, and that is a result of association with the devotee. Without being blessed by a pure devotee, no one can be fully satisfied, nor can anyone understand the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this tulyam, shane ardha. So half a moment, and similar words appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sadhu Sangha Sarvas Shastra Kohe. Love Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoye. Love Matra. And here is Ardha Kshana, half a moment. And love Matra is even smaller time duration than even half a moment. But then what happens? Just by that much association with the pure devotee, one just develops full affection for bhakti. And then he doesn't want anything, no karma, no gyan. He doesn't even want to even talk about it, think about it. So this is the power of pure devotees. They can really change the heart of a person, transform the heart of a person. So beautiful verses going on by Lord Shiva. So I guess we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments, and we'll take up the verses tomorrow.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Am I audible? So, Prabhuji, in Ramayana Katha, there is like when Sri Ramchandra ji was in Rameshwaram, he has, I think, established a Shivling there, and did because usually there's a, I mean, he was about to initiate that path, building that bridge between Lanka and that place, which is in Dhanushkodi, which is called today. So the prey, I mean, such a good, like the combination or what you call matri, you can say, or the friendship which between Lord Sri Ram and different avatars and Shivji is there. So it is shown in this particular thing, like here we can see Lord Shiva is singing, talking a lot of glories about Lord, and then on the other side, Lord himself, he is giving respect to Lord Shiva. So anything, Prabhuji, you want to say about this?
Yeah, Prabhupada has explained that. Yeah, Prabhupada has explained about that incident in Rameshwaram. He said Lord Ram established Shivlinga and worshipped Lord Shiva at that Shivlinga. Here also earlier that point came. He said just like in one of his lectures, he said just like a CEO of a company, he respects the manager of the company to let the other employees know how to respect that manager. So Lord Ram established Lord Shiva, Shivlinga, and worshipped it so that people, Lord Shiva, he's not an ordinary person, but he is not the supreme Lord either. So Rameshwaram, the word Rameshwaram, people say Rameshwaram means Ishwar of Ram. But no, Prabhupada Rameshwaram means Ram jinke Ishwar hai. That is Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I lost you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.